The house was eerily silent when I got home. The kids were fast asleep, their rooms dark and undisturbed. I grabbed a beer from the fridge, a speckled hen, and sank into my favorite armchair. My heart was still racing from everything I had seen and experienced that night. It had been one of the most challenging evenings of my life, filled with revelations I never thought I'd have to face. I glanced at the clock. 1:55 a.m. She'd be home soon. Jenny, my sweet, loving wife, the woman I thought I knew better than anyone else in the world, was out with her friends. Or at least, that's what she told me. Tonight had shattered that trust. When the sound of a key in the front door finally broke the silence, I straightened in my chair. She stepped inside, looking as radiant as ever. At nearly 32, Jenny was stunning. Long legs, a slim waist, and a face that could light up a room. But tonight, that beauty only added to my torment. "Oh, Jerry," she said in surprise, seeing me sitting there. "What are you still doing up?" It was a reasonable question. For months now, I'd been asleep long before she returned from her weekly girls' nights out. Tonight, though, I had reasons to stay awake. "I couldn't sleep," I said simply, taking a sip of my beer. Jenny hesitated, removing her coat with deliberate care. Her dress clung to her figure, and I couldn't help but notice she wasn't wearing a bra. She always removed it when she got home, claiming it was uncomfortable. But tonight, I knew better. "Did you have a good time?" I asked, keeping my tone casual. "It was fine," she replied, brushing off the question as if the night had been uneventful. "Nothing special, just the usual. Dinner, drinks, dancing." "Dancing?" I echoed, raising an eyebrow. "Yes," she said, her voice tightening slightly. "What's wrong with that?" I didn't respond right away, letting the silence stretch. She shifted uncomfortably under my gaze, fidgeting with the strap of her handbag. "Sit down, Jenny," I said finally. "What? Why?" "Just sit." She complied, lowering herself into the chair across from me. For the first time, I noticed the tension in her posture, the way her fingers gripped the armrests. "I want to tell you a little story," I began, leaning forward. "It starts with Tom and me driving on patrol tonight. We happened to pass by the Blue Gown Club. You know the place?" Jenny's face paled. "Yes," she said softly. "It's a club with a restaurant. We went there to eat." "Eat?" I repeated, my tone sharpening. "Is that all you did, Jenny?" "Because from where I was sitting, it looked like you were doing a lot more than eating." Her eyes widened. You were there?" "I saw everything," I said coldly. "From the moment you walked in to the moment you left." Jenny's lips parted as if to speak, but no words came. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out her bra, tossing it onto the table between us. Her eyes darted to it, then back to me, her expression one of sheer panic. "Recognize this?" I asked. I don't know how," she stammered, "but I cut her off. And these?" I pulled out her panties, rolled into a tight ball, and threw them next to the bra. Jenny's hand flew to her mouth as tears welled in her eyes. "Jerry, please," she whispered. "It's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is," I demanded. "Because from where I was standing, it looked like you let some guy grope you on the dance floor. You let him lead you outside to his car." "Am I wrong?" she sobbed, shaking her head. "It was a mistake," she cried. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I was just caught up in the moment." "Caught up in the moment?" I repeated, my voice dripping with disdain. "How long have you been caught up in the moment with this Norman Jones guy?" Jenny's head snapped up. "You know his name?" she gasped. "I know everything," I said flatly. "Tom filled me in. Turns out Norman's been seeing Tom's wife, too. Small world, huh?" Her tears flowed freely now, and she reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Jerry, I love you," she said desperately. "It didn't mean anything. I swear it didn't." "Didn't mean anything?" I laughed bitterly. You let him put his hands all over you. You let him take off your bra and panties, but sure, it didn't mean anything. She broke down completely, her sobs racking her body. For a moment, I felt a pang of pity for her, but I wasn't done yet. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small key, placing it on the table. Jenny looked at it, confused. "What's this?" she asked. "It's the key to Norman's handcuffs," I said calmly. Her eyes widened in horror. "Handcuffs?" "Tom and I found him in his car," I explained. "We dragged him out and handcuffed him to a post by the seawall. The tide's coming in, Jenny. If you want to save him, you've got about 40 minutes. She stared at me, her face a mask of disbelief. "You're lying," she said weakly. "Am I?" I asked, leaning back in my chair. "Take the key and find out. But know this, if you go, we're done. You can save him or save our marriage. Your choice." Jenny sat frozen, the key clutched in her trembling hand. Minutes passed, each one heavier than the last. Finally, she looked up at me, her eyes red and swollen. "Let's go to bed, Jerry," she whispered. I nodded, standing and leading the way upstairs. She had made her choice, but the weight of the night hung over us like a storm cloud. As we lay in bed, her back turned to me, I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing. Could I forgive her? Could I move past this? Or was this the beginning of the end? Only time would tell.